everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is WWE Last Week, your weekly look back at the week that was in the WWE. And God, it was a long week, was it not? Going to be doing a little bit of a different setup for this because I couldn't review like 5 shows for you guys. I'd be talking here way longer than you guys would want to listen, quite frankly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about the Rumble, I'm going to talk about the corresponding stuff that happened on Raw and SmackDown, if there is corresponding stuff that happened on Raw and SmackDown, rather than giving the full Raw and SmackDown rundown, which will probably go back to normal next week when there's not pay-per-views to talk about. We do have some news to talk about with the Elimination Chamber as well, and I'm going to give you my quick thoughts on Vengeance Day that just took place last night. NXT's return to the road, return to arena shows, etc. And spoiler alert, I thought it was really good. But gotta start where we gotta start. We gotta talk about the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble, to my personal taste, was an unqualified success. The biggest criticism, other than people that just don't like fun, so they're shitting on the Pitch Black match, the biggest criticism, objectively, of the Royal Rumble was that there wasn't enough surprises. And if that is your argument, I'll let you have it, but also, for what we got, for what we achieved in the 2 Rumble matches and the 3 other matches, I'm willing to make that trade. I'm willing to trade a couple surprises. I'm willing to trade a couple Hornswoggles and Santino Marellas for some good storytelling and some solid WrestleMania work going forward. So, nothing on the kickoff, so we started with the Men's Rumble, which was a big news piece right before the pay-per-view itself, because everybody was complaining in the interim that they're going to put the women on first, and they're just, it's because they're so sexist, and they're just going to get the women out of the way, which actually wasn't the case. The Women's Rumble was the better Rumble, in my opinion, but the Men's Rumble still achieved a lot of things. This is going to kind of come thick and fast. It's in bullet point form. I'm not going to run through, and then this person came in, and then this person came in, and then this person came. I'm going to take this from the perspective of what I think they achieved, and what I think was noteworthy. The biggest thing I want to say right off the bat is they did a lot of big guy stuff. Now, that's okay, in the sense that wrestling these days has gone a lot more fast-paced, athletic, smaller guys. Your Finn Balor's, your AJ Styles, your Ricochets, and all that sort of thing, which is fantastic. It's made it more athletic, it's made it more dynamic, it's made it more exciting, etc. But it's on the bigger guys now, who were the stereotype back in the day, to show that they can keep up. And I think they absolutely did in this match, because every big guy you want to imagine was in this match, and was kicking a lot of ass. So you had Drew and Sheamus and Karrion Kross and Gunther and Omos and Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar was only in there for like 3 minutes, and yet people still found reasons to complain. But yeah, just in general, a lot of... I hate that we keep using the Big E quote now, but a lot of big beefy men slapping man meat. And the rumor that's coming out of that, I mean, obviously Lesnar and Lashley are going to do Lesnar and Lashley things, but the much more exciting thing to me anyways, and I'm sorry, a lot of more exciting stuff happens on SmackDown these days. One of those things is how Gunther has elevated the Intercontinental Championship, and apparently... take it for what it's worth, because right now they're a tag team. Apparently it's going to be a triple threat match at WrestleMania between Drew, Sheamus, and Gunther, which, again, on an individual scale rather than in a Rumble scale, that's 3 guys chopping the shit out of each other. Nobody's going to have a chest left. Everybody's going to get kicked and punched and beaten, and they're all going to be bits of raw hamburger after WrestleMania, if that is indeed the case. That's really, really interesting. We had one surprise entrant in the Rumble, and it was Booker T. Doesn't hurt my feelings whatsoever. Booker T can still... I don't want to say he can still go, because it's a Rumble, and you can hide things pretty easily in a Rumble, but I bet Booker T can go. He's still running his own school and his own promotion and whatever, so I don't think he's out of shape by any stretch of the imagination. I do think one day, because he's got the long hair, he's going to try and do the spinneroonie, and he's going to catch himself, but that's neither here nor there. Speaking of catching themselves, Kofi Kingston, and whatever that dive was to the outside where he basically ate a chair face first, I take a lot of shots at Kofi Kingston. I really do. I don't think his spots at the Rumble are as memorable as some of the ones that John Morrison has done, mostly because they veered into the silly with the I'm standing on pancakes, I'm not really standing on the ground. But I don't want to see anybody get hurt, and I think New Day coming down to NXT and holding the NXT tag titles for a while was a really cool thing to do, especially going into their pay-per-view. So he was at the Vengeance Day pay-per-view, so obviously he's okay. Scary looking spot. They never replayed it other than in the replays that they showed on Raw and SmackDown, which is a little troubling, but maybe instead of always having to cut and paste like we do the escape spot here because the Royal Rumble playbook says we do the escape thing here, why don't we just show how hard it is to get him out of the ring in the first place? That's just my thought. That's not me saying don't be creative. That's not me saying don't do a hell of a spot if you think you've got a hell of a spot in mind. But, I mean, the one last year, just, he missed a little bit, and his feet hit the ground, and it didn't work out for him the way he wanted to. This year, like I said, it looked like he ate shit pretty hard, and we all know what we don't want to know. So it's something to look at. I'm not saying don't do it, but it's something to take into consideration. I do like, for whatever reason, I don't know whether he was injured or sick or whatever, but Rey Mysterio wasn't able to be in the Rumble, so they wrote that into the Rumble, and Rey Mysterio did not show up for his number, and then Dominic later on came out with his dad's mask and ripped it up, or attempted, I should say, to rip it up on the way to the ring. So we are definitely driving towards that Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio thing at WrestleMania, which will be fine. It'll be fun, and it's one of those things that's, I'm happy for them that they get to do it more than I'm looking forward to it myself, if that makes sense. I always go back to John Cena, Nikki Bella, Maurice, and The Miz having that mixed tag at WrestleMania. Is it the top of my bucket list? No, but like, there's two guys that clearly have a good working relationship, and they're significant others, and they were having a good time. So I'm happy for them to have that match. I'm happy for Ray and his kid to have a match at WrestleMania. That doesn't hurt my feelings in the slightest. Ricochet and Logan Paul had the spot of the match where they did that coast-to-coast, meet in the middle, crossbody double take each other out thing. Yes, it made absolutely no sense. Why would you from the outside look at each other, challenge each other, and then willingly take yourself off your feet in that way? It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't change the fact that it was awesome. And yeah, Logan Paul is apparently, because he took out Seth Rollins, and he's going to apparently face Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, which is going to be a lot of fun. Logan Paul coming in, whereas he's not there all the time, he's the celebrity. They can decide on a whim whether he's babyface or heel, and the sort of weird, I'm an asshole even when I'm a good guy energy of Seth Rollins, that's going to make for a hell of a match. And plus, Logan Paul's a hell of an athlete. If you don't believe that by now, then you're just strictly not paying attention, and Seth Rollins is going to bring everything out of him that he can. That doesn't, again, it's I want to say more than this, but to say it doesn't hurt my feelings, that is a match that I'm looking forward to, as opposed to the Mysterios match, because I'm curious as to what that match is going to look like, and sometimes that's all it takes. Going back to the big guys, Gunther was your Iron Man. He started in at number 1, and he was eliminated by the winner. He clocked in at 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 40 seconds, which is absolutely fantastic for him. People are saying that this is the big indicator that Vince wasn't in the creative thing for the Rumble, which, I'm sorry guys, that's what he said when he came back. He said, I'm back and I'm in charge. I'm not touching creative. And now people are being surprised that he's not touching creative. Just let it be a little bit. But Gunther looked amazing in the match, obviously. Edge returned to fuck with Judgment Day some more. Here's the thing. Here's my thing that I want to ask you guys. What does Damian Priest do at WrestleMania? Because we know what Rhea's doing. We'll get to that in a bit. Dominic's also obviously facing Rey. The rumor is Edge and Balor in a Hell in the Cell, which was supposed to happen at the Royal Rumble, but that idea has now been pushed to Mania, apparently. If that's the case, what does Damian Priest do? I don't want it to be a sense of he just goes down for the Rey-Dominic match to have Dominic's back, because I think Damian Priest is awesome, super underrated, and Judgment Day as a whole contribute to WWE, so Judgment Day as a whole should be able to contribute to WrestleMania. Just my opinion. The bigger thing about Edge coming back is the interaction in the entranceway when Ripley came out to beat the crap out of Edge, which was hilarious, and was speared and attacked by Beth Phoenix. Thinking, oh my god, how's that going to affect her Rumble later on? That was it. Cody Rhodes wins, comes in at 30. I'm going to get heat for this. I understand why people wanted Cody to win this. Cody's popular. The AEW fans think it's a win for AEW, even though he's a WWE wrestler in a WWE ring that won a WWE match and is going to get a WWE title shot. I get it. But here's the deal. The freshest guy in the match had a short match at the end of the Rumble with the guy that had been there 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 40 seconds and chucked him out. Even if you want Cody Rhodes to be your conquering hero, and I get it, he does all the right things, and he says all the right things, and he says all the woke things, and he's a handsome guy to put on the cover of the poster opposing Roman Reigns. I get it. I don't object to him being the winner. I don't object to the Cody match at WrestleMania. You knew as soon as he came back that they were going to shove him directly into the title picture, which if it was anybody else you'd bitch about, but it's your guy, so it's different. You weirdos. I'm going to call you all the little Sidgwicks out there in the world. I get it. I get all of it. I don't mind it. It's not the match I'm looking forward to, if I'm completely honest, or it's not, at least it's not the half of the match that I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to that match more to see what happens with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, which we're going to talk about in a second. But this is not a big conquering moment thing. You are the freshest guy in the ring, and you won the match by beating up a guy that had already been in there an hour. Oh, well, he chopped his tit. Okay. You're an injured guy with an injured tit that walked into the Rumble with a lot of people that like to use chops. It's not the. It's a victory. It's a triumphant return. I have all, like I've said before, I have all the credit in the world for what Cody Rhodes did with Seth Rollins back at the Hell in the Cell. He's insane for doing that, by the way. The work that he's done to recover, the fact that he came back at all, that's a triumph. Kayfabe-wise, you came in at the easiest spot and beat up the tiredest guy to win. There's better ways to do that, and I'm not doing this to get into the whole Cody, who should have the match, Cody or Sammy. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying, if you're telling the story of the triumphant returning superstar, you put him in the bitch spot, and that's gonna turn some people's heads. Anyways, after that we got a little bit of a break. We got a little bit of levity. 5 minutes. Although people act like it's the end of the world, it was the pitch black match between Bray Wyatt and LA Knight. I thought this was a lot of fun. It was pure commercial, like, entanglement with the company. That's fine. People said, oh, seeing that big glowing, Mountain Dew logo in the middle of the ring just shows how much WWE has sold out. Okay. How many times did AEW feature Cracker Barrel? AEW has 2 different shows that are named after Game of Thrones. You got Winter is Coming, and you got House of the Dragon. You've got the Cracker Barrel stuff. You had Bear Country take on Jungle Express or whatever and called it the Godzilla versus King Kong match. Let's not pretend that commercialism is something that only happens in the WWE. This wasn't meant to be taken seriously, and I didn't take it seriously. It was all neon. It was like going to Putting Edge. If you guys live in Canada and you know what Putting Edge is, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Everything was neon. Everything was really cool. Obviously, LA Knight came out with the bright gear. Bray Wyatt had that really cool mask on at one point. And I say really cool in the sense of, if you're into it, you're into it. If you're not into it and you hear me say really cool, there's probably going to be some smart-ass remarks in my comment section. I really don't care. Bray Wyatt got the win. They brawled into the aisleway, into the crowd area, and with all the characters from the Firefly Funhouse watching on, Uncle Howdy came off of what was some kind of like electronical truss and did an elbow drop onto LA Knight, and some pyro that was nowhere near LA Knight went off, and that was the end. I mean, maybe if you are an AEW fan, maybe tell them to check out this, because this is how like exploding pyro is actually supposed to work. But I mean, it did some spooky wooky Bray Wyatt stuff. LA Knight isn't going to be hurt by this. LA Knight is going to shrug this match off like it never happened, because it does really exist in another universe. Speaking of which, I thought there was going to be a lot more of that in the next match, which was just something that we could have seen on Raw, and that's Bianca Belair steamrolling Alexa Bliss, because of course she did. I don't have much to say about this, other than Alexa Bliss sitting in the ring after the loss, looking all dejected and disappointed and all that sort of thing, and getting taunted by Uncle Howdy on the Tron, and then they did nothing to follow up with this on Raw whatsoever. So that was a bit of a fall down. I don't know what they're quite doing with that. On SmackDown, I should say, they showed highlights of the Pitch Black match, and then they cut to what we thought was going to be the next step. It was Bray Wyatt watching the match back with somebody laying a hand on his shoulder and Uncle Howdy just turning into the camera for a jump scare. So, whatever this is, they have to make it something soon. I know it's not going to be this because there's no reason for them to come together, but I'm sorry, Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss versus Karrion Kross and Scarlett. Karrion Kross doesn't look like he has anything on his plate right now. By association, Scarlett really doesn't have anything on her plate because she doesn't wrestle that much. She's more in a manager role to Kross than anything. But a mixed tag situation might be the type of thing that brings Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss back together under the Howdy banner. It's just my thought. I'm just throwing it out there. There wasn't much to say about this match, and I don't think, if I recall, which I don't think Alexa Bliss was on Raw this week. So that's fine. That's a bit of a stumble for the women's division. You know what was not a stumble for the women's division was the Women's Royal Rumble match, which was the semi-main, as it should be. Now, there's a separate conversation to be had as to the fact that the Rumble was not the main event of the Rumble, which is a conversation that people have every couple of years or so. What happened in the main event absolutely justified it this year, but it is still a little bit off-putting when one of the Rumble matches isn't the main event of the Rumble. But let's talk about the winner first, because everybody knew coming in either Rhea Ripley was going to win or WWE don't know what the fuck they're doing. Rhea Ripley wins. Not only does she win, she wins from the number one spot. So clearly she's the Iron Woman, because by process of elimination, if you go from beginning to end, you are the Iron Woman because you came in before everybody and you were still left when everybody was gone. She came in selling the injury from Beth Phoenix from earlier, from getting speared and mauled in the rampway. She took a finisher from just about everybody, monstered a bunch of people. I think, was it either Nia Jax or Piper Niven that she tried to do the Riptide to and absolutely crumpled at one point. The fact that at the end of it, when you see her, like, every bit of heel work that she does on the main roster is just, I'm having a good time and I don't give a shit. Like, it, more than being a bad person, more than being a devious person, the smile and the sort of like the Joker cackle that she has going on most of the time when things are going her way is just, I'm having a good time and I don't give a shit. And there wasn't an ounce of heel in her when she won that match. When it got down to Asuka, Liv Morgan, and her, and all three of them were fighting on the apron, and I kind of said, they're all on the apron. This could go real bad real quick. We could have a Kofi Kingston situation. Asuka hitting the mist, accidentally hitting Liv Morgan almost even though she's blind, almost knocking Rhea Ripley out, and then Rhea Ripley managing to get a head scissor of all things to get her off. And yeah, she just sitting on the top turnbuckle pointing at the WrestleMania sign like she was sitting on a park bench, and I thought that was really fucking cool. Go back to Mae Young Classic 1, go back to Mae Young Classic 2, go back to NXT UK when that was relevant, go back to when she was in NXT Black and Gold, and what did I say? Every single fucking... I said it about Toni Storm too, to be fair, but I said, Rhea Ripley, fucking star. Watch her win that Rumble. Rhea Ripley, fucking star. When she goes to WrestleMania and walks out as champion in one of the main events, Rhea Ripley, fucking star. That's it. Now, they did the right thing. Like I said, it was very, very simple to get the Women's Rumble right. It's just like, we know who should be the winner. We really do. And we got it. And that's the pass or fail for me. But we achieved more in this Rumble than we did in the men's Rumble, if I'm completely honest with you. We had Michelle McCool, who was a surprise from the crowd, which was kind of cool. They showed her in the crowd with her kids. It's like, oh, we're happy to have Michelle McCool with us here tonight with her family and rah. And then her music played, and she played off the whole sarcastic, oh, what? You mean I'm in the Rumble? Everybody got on her for that. And I'm just like, it's done with a wink and a nod. It's a self-acknowledging, yes, we know this is goofy, that's kind of the point thing. Nobody is wanting you to believe that she didn't know she was in the Rumble. Like, it's like when people jump up from commentary to get into the Rumble. It's the same kind of thing. Oh, surprise, I forgot to mention it to you guys, etc., etc. Chelsea Green returned, or should I say, was back on screen, because the rumor is that Chelsea Green has actually been back on WWE's payroll for a while. They were intentionally keeping her off television until they had some proper creative for her. She went in and was eliminated in less than 5 seconds, and on Raw it was kind of confirmed, the rumors about her, that she's going to be playing a fucking Karen. And she immediately stepped into Adam Pearce's office asking to speak to the manager. And this will not surprise any of you. This made me smile a whole lot. When they introduced Joe Gacy on NXT, doing a picture-perfect rendition of an SJW, it pissed off all the right people. The Karen thing is awesome. We know Chelsea Green can be crazy, and that's basically what a Karen is. I love this because you guys have been listening for a long time with me. Say it once, say it now, say it loud, say it proud, say it all together. It'll piss off all the right people. Oh, yes. Asuka came back with a new gimmick. People were saying that she was teasing her Kana gimmick from Japan. I, as you guys know, don't watch New Japan. I don't know what the fuck that means, other than when she came to NXT, they made a big point of her being renamed from Kana to Asuka. Kind of like Kenta becoming Hideo Itami. And everybody thought that was so terrible! Oh my god! But anyways, Asuka coming down, more elaborate mask, more elaborate robe and entrance and the whole thing. Sort of an evil tint on what she was already doing. The way that she kind of like moves a little bit animalistically when she's in the ring, and I mean that in a positive way. The darker gear and the face, like the evil Joker, evil clown face. And then she showed up on Raw doing goo stuff, and exactly the people you think reacted exactly the way you think they would. I think this is awesome. I think this is fucking great. I don't even know what this is, and I know that when I tune into Raw tonight, when this is going out on Monday, so I should say tonight. When I tune into Raw tonight, I'm gonna want to see what that new Asuka is going to do. Awesome. On a slightly smaller scale, Piper Niven came back, and she was actually Piper Niven. She wasn't Doudrop. She was still using the Doudrop music, so I don't know what that's going to be about, but if she's just going to be Piper Niven, people are saying, why couldn't she be Viper? And it's the same reason that they change everybody's name, but nobody had a problem when her name was Piper Niven. It was fine. If she's just going to come back and be a badass like she was in NXT UK briefly, when they did the NXT Worlds Collide small shows, there was a match that I encouraged people to check out, and I still encourage people to check out, because it's between two very underrated women, and that's Piper Niven and Zelina Vega. Obviously, and I'm saying this in a nice way, it's a very, very David and Goliath, size versus speed, all that kind of thing, but it's just, when you hear those two names, you're talking about two women that I like, that match is way better than you expect it to be. Oh yeah, and Bianca Belair's in it too. Becky and Damage, yeah, I'm an asshole, I don't care, Bianca Belair's stale as fuck. Becky versus Damage Control continued. The cage match that didn't happen on Raw 30 because of timing issues is going to happen this week apparently, so we're going to see where that goes. I don't care if they want to do Becky and Bayley just as a match at WrestleMania. I don't care. If they want to throw on Becky versus Bayley at the Elimination Chamber as an extra match, I don't care. These are two awesome women that I could watch wrestle forever. It's fine. NXT had some representation as well. Roxanne Perez, the current NXT Women's Champion, as well as Indy Hartwell, who's overdue for a call-up, and Zoe Stark, who's just plain fucking awesome. We're all in there. I had the feeling that it was a one-night thing. I do really want Indy Hartwell to come up and rejoin the way with the Garganos and Dexter Lumis and all that kind of thing, because they're just doing nothing with her on it. Like, she's such an out-of-place piece on NXT right now that there's going to reach a point where it's actively hurting her to stay there, because the more somebody looks out of place, the more you get that, oh, you know, look out of the way there. I'd kind of like to see a little bit more Alba Fire. I'd like to see a little bit more Cora Jade or Roxanne Perez or whatever, or Zoe Stark or Nikita Lyons. Your time is done. You probably should have gone up when the rest of your kayfabe family went up, and that's kind of a problem. It's a more drastic and a more negative version of when they called up 3 of the 4 horsewomen and left Bayley in NXT, when they should have called up 3 of the 4 horsewomen and let Sasha Banks go and avoided a whole bunch of problems, but we didn't do that, did we? No, we did not. Okay. Let's get to the crux of it. Let's get to the best thing in wrestling right now is the Bloodline. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you bring me from Impact. Impact does a lot of cool things. AEW, despite being a shit company, do have a lot of great wrestlers that are trying to do a lot of great things. Joe versus Darby Allin not too long ago was fucking awesome. There's nothing in wrestling right now that's better than the Bloodline story. And I'm not saying the Sami Zayn story, or I'm not saying the Roman Reigns story. I'm saying every single piece in that puzzle is fucking awesome. Roman beat the shit out of Kevin Owens, because we knew that was going to happen. And then after the match, he demanded that... he was about to attack Roman Reigns while Roman Reigns was handcuffed to the ropes and all that. And then Sami Zayn stood in the way, and he was protecting his friend, but he tried to dress it up as like, hey man, you're better than this, you don't have to do this, this is beneath you, you've already proven your point, etc., etc. So he says, fine, you do it. And Sami Zayn doesn't, and he doesn't, and he doesn't, and he gets in his face, and he really, like... Basically, I want to say that like he got inside his ear and yelled at him, which is not physically possible, but that's pretty much what happened. And then as soon as Roman turned his back, finally, Sami Zayn balled up and he hit Roman with the chair, which was there's the moment, there's the pop, there's all the storyline that is basically... The story has existed longer than Sami Zayn has been in it. Because if you ask me, the story existed as soon as Roman Reigns came back from his medical leave and decided to be an asshole and started gaslighting Jey Uso. That's when the story started. Sami Zayn is the catalyst for the change now, but it started then. It started as soon as we realized that Roman Reigns wasn't a face anymore. We started that one night where they interviewed him on the couch, and then the camera panned over and we saw Paul Heyman for the first time. That crack of the chair, and he wasn't immediately attacked. He had everybody else in the ring, from Heyman to the Usos and everybody, saying, "What are you doing, man? What are you doing?" And immediately Solo and Jimmy, who had always been Sami Zayn's friends, knew what they had to do, knew what their marching orders were, and started beating the crap out of Sami Zayn. The brilliant thing about all of this, and I'm not saying anything that anybody else hasn't already said, the brilliant thing was just watching Jey Uso shrink into the corner. Like, genuine... Like, you can't really do a proper PTSD story in wrestling because it's kind of disrespectful to people that actually have PTSD. But the way Roman was treating Sami in that moment was so reminiscent of the early days of the Bloodline, when there was no Jimmy, when there was no Solo, when it was just Roman Reigns and Jey as his right-hand man, and how he was so mistreated. And watching somebody else get treated the same way, he shrunk into the ring and then he left. And Roman, like, said, "Oh, well, that's kind of fucked, but back to business as usual." And he used that as motivation to beat the crap out of Sami Zayn some more and left him lying in the ring. Because right before he said, "Hey, I want you to beat up your friend," Jimmy was about to put the Hawaiian, or the Samoan lei on Sami Zayn, and Roman stopped him. And then when the beatdown was all over, he sort of started pulling the flowers off the lei one by one and dropping them on Sami Zayn like it was a funeral, which was really cool. And that was it. The group you saw leaving was Roman, along with Paul Heyman, Jimmy Uso, and Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa showing no emotion whatsoever because he's like the assassin. Jimmy, who had been the one that was most excited to have Sami Zayn in the Bloodline, was the first one to excitedly jump on him as soon as he did the thing. Jimmy, looking at Jey, when Jey wouldn't join in on the beatdown, is like, "What are you doing? We're the family. He's not family," and all that kind of thing. So for Jey, like I say, I've always said, this story, don't be fooled into thinking that this is just a Sami and Roman story. This is as much a Jey Uso story, if they know how to cap this off properly. Immediately in my head, I was thinking, okay, there's a filler pay-per-view between now and WrestleMania. If we get some kind of trios match where it's Roman, Jimmy, and Solo versus Jay, Sammy, and KO, that would be phenomenal. But the whole match, you'd be thinking, okay, is Jay going to get pulled back on side and all that kind of thing. What they did instead was they got to SmackDown this week, and Roman was kind of gaslighting Jimmy and Solo. It's like, you know, kind of makes me really concerned for what we're doing as a family, that you guys haven't heard from your brother all week. Go out and find him. And then later on, he apologizes. He says, I'm under a lot of stress. I really appreciate you guys. It's WrestleMania season. I really need you by my side and all that. Go out to the truck, or go out to the bus, rather. Heyman's already got a good spread out there. Go enjoy it. I'm going to go handle some business. He goes out there and cuts this promo, and he's kind of mad at the crowd for chanting at Sami Zayn, and he plays it off in this really cool double way where he's like, I really don't want to talk about that guy. That guy's in the past. And, you know, I'd like to talk about somebody who deserves my time and my attention. I'd like to talk about the winner of the Men's Royal Rumble, Cody Rhodes, in this match that we have coming up at WrestleMania. But if you want me to talk about Sammy instead, then I guess we can talk about Sammy instead. And he talks about how Sammy only got with the Bloodline to use him, and it's like the fans use him, and it's like the rest of the family loses him. And then he gets jumped from behind by somebody in a hood. And I thought it was going to be Jay. Not going to lie. I thought they were going to do a thing where seeing Sami Zayn get so abused would remind him of his own abuse, and then he would lash out at his own cousin, and we would have that sort of powerful thing. But we didn't, which means we have that in the locker for later on if we want to play that up. But it was Sami, and Sami Zayn not only beat the crap out of him, like, because he got him off guard, but he also, like, when Roman goes for a chair, Sami hit Roman with a spear. And I don't mention the camera work very often, but the camera work for that particular thing was fucking perfect. The symbolism, I was about to say the symbology, which is a really bad reference to Boondock Saints, but the symbolism behind that was really, really cool. Obviously, Roman gets the upper hand, starts beating him down, and then when Sami gets his hand on the chair, he chases Roman out, and he says, hey man, look, you got me all wrong. I never wanted anything from you. Now I do. Now I want that title. Jimmy, Solo come out from the crowd, beat him down once again. They're about to Pillmanize his neck in the corner with the hip attack, and Roman stops it. He just gets all in his face. No microphone, no nothing. It's all on the camera mic, and he says, you know, you want something from me? I'm going to give you what you want. You took my family from me. These fans out here, because the fans, I should say, were cheering for Jay to come out and save him. It's like, hear those fans? They're chanting for Jey Uso. You stole a family member of mine. You've broken up my bloodline. You've broken up my kingdom. You've broken up my family. I'm going to break you in front of your family. You've got your title match at the Elimination Chamber in Montreal. I mean, the Elimination Chamber is now officially WrestleMania. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. I'm saying that without hyperbole. I'm saying, like, the big marquee superstar match, everything up in lights match is Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. If you give a shit about actual storytelling, WrestleMania is happening in Montreal this month. That's it. That's all. I have nothing else to say. There's nothing else I can say about this story and how fucking fantastic it is. Because what do you get? You get Sami Zayn becoming the champion before WrestleMania? No, probably not. The Usos are supposed to defend their title this week on SmackDown, but we don't know where Jay is. So does Roman decree that Solo Sikoa is going to hold Jay's championship, and they're going to defend it as, like, Jimmy and Solo Uso? And does then that team go on to face Team Canada? Or what people keep saying, Steen Erico, which is not a thing because Kevin Steen and El Generico are not things that exist in WWE. But do you get this new modified Usos versus Sami and Kevin at WrestleMania? Do they actually ball up and give a win to Sami Zayn at the secondary pay-per-view? I don't think they do. But at this point, even if they do, even if they give us that surprise, which I don't think they will, I will still think, hey, something awesome is going to happen at WrestleMania. Because worst comes to worst, you put the title on Sami at Elimination Chamber, and you've got Sami versus Cody at WrestleMania. And that ain't any bad thing. That's a ROH matchup, if anything else. But we don't need to go there. This is all fucking fantastic. Now, does bring us over into That's everything we sort of established at the Royal Rumble. There are a couple of other things that were not established at the Royal Rumble just because they weren't touched upon, and they're going to be handled at the Elimination Chamber. I want to say really quickly as well, I think it's really cool that we're actually using really real and appropriate music for wrestling pay-per-views again. I'm sorry, pop and rap and electric and all that happy clappy crap doesn't work for wrestling pay-per-views. Rock works for pay-per-views. Metal works for pay-per-views. And if it wasn't for the WWE, I would have never heard of the band Skillet. Skillet is back doing the theme for this year's Elimination Chamber. They're doing a song, I think it's called The Psycho in My Head, which is perfect for Sami versus Roman Reigns, I'm not going to lie. But we're also establishing some other things. The first thing officially announced all the way through is that we are getting Sami versus Roman Reigns for the Undisputed Universal Championship at the Elimination Chamber in Montreal. It's going to be fucking molten in that arena. We also have 2 Elimination Chamber matches, and they were both sort of announced on Raw by Adam Pearce, but they've sort of played out throughout Raw and SmackDown. What's a title we haven't talked about in a while? We haven't talked about the United States Championship, currently held by Austin Theory. There's going to be a United States Championship Elimination Chamber match. I don't think... Somebody's going to correct me down in the box below, because now I'm afraid I'm wrong. I don't think there's ever been a chamber for the U.S. title. I think they've done the IC, they've done the tag, they've done the women's, they've done the men's, they've done the women's tag. I don't think that there has been one for the U.S. Championship, but even if I'm wrong, I don't care, because it's still cool. It's still giving a spot that would normally be used for a main event championship to a smaller championship, because the United States Championship has not been elevated as well as Gunther has done with the Intercontinental Championship, mostly because the title's on Theory right now and nobody wants to admit how cool Theory is. The difference between Theory and Gunther is elevating that champion by being a great champion. Theory is elevating the United States Championship by collecting this mass of challengers that are constantly pissed with him, so it always feels like it's in danger. Gunther, when he gets announced for a match, unless it's at a big pay-per-view, you don't really think that title's going to change hands. Theory, because he's got so many enemies, you almost have the opposite effect, and that makes it more interesting. And if you make a title more interesting, it's going to be elevated in its importance by default. So we have Theory in the match. We have Seth Rollins in the match, who defeated Chad Gable. On Raw, you've got Johnny Gargano, who defeated Baron Corbin on Raw, which was awesome because Dexter Lumis was there with his hatchet and he cut up JBL's hat. Bronson Reed absolutely steamrolled Dolph Ziggler, and Dolph Ziggler did a Dolph Ziggler for him, so that's awesome. The last 2 spots are going to be established this week on Raw, and it's both of the Street Profits, which automatically tells you that one of them's going to get in and one of them's not. It's Damian Priest versus Angelo Dawkins, and it's Elias versus Montez Ford. Now, the way I see this going, I said it earlier, everybody else in the Judgment Day has something to do at WrestleMania. Priest doesn't. Priest goes in as the United States Champion at WrestleMania, and now he's got something to do. So now I think Priest beats Dawkins, but Montez Ford beats Elias. Now people keep wanting to say that the Street Profits are going to break up. I don't think they should. I think they're a fantastic team. But if you want to play it up as Dawkins getting mad at Montez Ford because Montez got a shot at the United States Championship while he did not, that's a cool little side story to tell. Not really my main priority. So Theory, Rollins, Gargano, Reed. You add in Priest and Montez Ford. Montez Ford's just going to do something crazy in the match. He's very Kofi Kingston in that way of, like, he's going to do something in the match to make it memorable, not necessarily win the match. Damian Priest. Here's my early pitch. Damian Priest needs to win this, because nobody wants Austin Theory to hold the title, which is really sad, because, you know, it just is. As a one-on-one, not a one-off, Gargano versus Priest for the United States Championship at WrestleMania. Just tossing it out there. Let me know what you guys think down in the box below. More importantly, that would mean if you looked at the... I didn't even mention it when I was talking about the Women's Rumble. Rhea Ripley came out on Raw to announce that she's going after the SmackDown title and Charlotte Flair. So now, if what I'm saying is true, then Dominic faces his dad, Balor faces Edge, Priest faces Gargano, and Rhea Ripley probably unseats Charlotte Flair, let's be real. That could be a huge night for the Judgment Day, and I really hope it happens. I really hope it's true. Now, the other title that we haven't really paid much attention to, especially going into Mania season, now that Rhea Ripley has chosen to face Charlotte Flair, which is fine, by the way. People are saying, oh, they're burying Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair has had that title for a long-ass time, and Charlotte Flair is the one that Rhea Ripley has the WrestleMania history with. Please get off of yourselves, and please suck the identity politics out of wrestling for a hot second. We're going to establish Bianca Belair's challenger for the Raw Women's Championship at Elimination Chamber as well. Now, what Adam Pearce did here was a little bit more of a shortcut. There's a lot less qualifiers going on for this one. He took the last four runners-up from the Women's Royal Rumble, who are Liv Morgan at 29, Asuka at 28, Nikki Cross at 27, and Raquel Rodriguez at 26. They did a qualifying match on SmackDown where Natalya beat Shotzi Blackheart, Shayna Baszler, and Zelina Vega to get in. I was really bummed out by that because I'm thinking Shotzi would be really fun in the Elimination Chamber, but then I remembered the pay-per-views in Canada. Natalya's going to get a huge pop. Absolutely fine. The last spot will be taken up in the winner of the Fatal 4-Way match that's happening tonight on Raw, and it's Candice LeRae versus the returning Carmella, which is awesome. All the outside of wrestling stuff that she's been through, really happy to see her back. That's really awesome. Versus Mia Yim versus not Doudrop, but Piper Niven. I mean, I'm happy for Carmella to come back, and I love Candice LeRae, and I love Mia Yim. I'm really interested to see what Piper Niven could do in an Elimination Chamber, though. I mean, without being weird about it, and without Rhea Ripley being in the match, the next one that you could really see being a wrecking ball in that match would be Piper Niven, and I think that would be fucking awesome. Piper Niven versus Bianca Belair would be a lot of fun, but again, there's a thought to be thought here where a Raw star is going for the SmackDown Championship, so the somebody from SmackDown should go for the Raw Championship. Liv Morgan versus Bianca Belair is something I don't think we've touched on very much. Match quality-wise and who's just come back with a huge punch. Obviously, Bianca Belair versus Asuka could be absolutely great, especially this new sort of sinister Asuka, but then you're still going to have to work out who's on what show with what belt if they do that. But a lot of things, like I said, Theory, Rollins, Gargano, Reed, and either Priest and Dawkins, and either Elias or Montez. There's one your Elimination Chambers. The other Elimination Chamber, Liv Morgan, Asuka, Nikki Cross, Raquel Rodriguez, and Natalya, taking on whoever wins out of Candice, Carmella, Mia Yim, and Piper Niven. Those are two great chamber matches to go along with Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. And this add to that equation, the last two titles that we haven't really spoken about just yet, is the Intercontinental Championship, the number one contendership for which has been set for this Friday's SmackDown in another Fatal 4-Way match where it's Rey Mysterio, Riddick Moss, Karrion Kross, and Santos Escobar. I'm gonna say Karrion Kross, because Karrion Kross versus Gunther could be a really fun match. They didn't say when this title match was taking place, though. They didn't say whether this is going to be a number one contendership match and then the match happens next week, or whether this is a number one contendership match for a match at Elimination Chamber. Either one is completely fine with me. And last week on SmackDown, Strowman and Ricochet won the tag team number one contenders tournament, and they're set to face the Usos, except we don't know where Jay is. So that is more of a story than a match that I'm looking forward to. But I mean, hell, Rey Mysterio, I think Rey Mysterio already fought Gunther. Riddick Moss could just get killed by Gunther. Karrion Kross versus Gunther could be a lot of fun. Santos Escobar versus Gunther could be really interesting as well. So all the titles are pretty much spoken for. The Men's Rumble was what it was. The Raw Women's Championship was a nothing match at the Royal Rumble. The Women's title match for WrestleMania has already been set. We're working on stuff for the IC and US titles. We're looking for a new contender for Bianca Belair. Hopefully she doesn't steamroll them as well. All the major titles and all the major stories and the Judgment Day and the Bloodline are all on track to exactly where they're supposed to be. So I'm just going to cap this off talking a little bit about Vengeance Day, NXT finally getting out of the Performance Center into the, I still didn't write down the name of the arena, in Charlotte, North Carolina. Fun enough match, or fun enough show. Just really nice to see them in a different place. I do like the low-key stage setup. It wasn't huge. It was like half-size. I mean, simple LED stuff is simple LED stuff, but it's just nice to see an NXT show with a bigger audience behind it, like it deserves. Wesley defeated Dominic Dijak or they're just calling him Dijak now, aren't they? Fuck me, I'm tired. Dijak fucked up his finger in this match. People online that were saying in this match, because it's February, that when he had him in the arm bar, in the arm lock situation, that it looked like he was arresting him. Stop trying to make it into something it's not. It's just not. Fallon Henley and Kiana James defeated Katana Chance and Caden Carter. Hopefully they're coming up to the main roster soon. Like I said in my last video, they could take on Damage Control. Carmelo Hayes beat Apollo Crews. Two falls straight in their 2 out of 3 falls match. And then Dabakato came back to beat everybody up. And that was a lot of fun. So I guess he's back in NXT. Gallus won the Fatal 4-Way Tag like I thought they would. I guess New Day will go back to the main roster, and everybody else can sort of fuck off. Roxanne Perez, predictably enough, defeated both members of Toxic Attraction when they, say it with me, they couldn't coexist. It's fine. Apparently, since the pay-per-view, there's been... I haven't seen any of it, so that's probably a good thing. But apparently Roxanne Perez has been getting bullied online and getting body-shamed online. First of all, that's not cool. Second of all, she's gorgeous, so fuck off. Breaker defeated Waller in the cage match. It was really good. I don't know what else you want me to say. Breaker's a beast. He's not long for this world. He's going to drop that title to the new all but official #1 contender, Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes sort of came out to the rampway after the cage match was over, and they had sort of a long distance stare down while Braun Breaker was posing at the top of the rampway. I will say as well, Charlotte Flair. I know a lot of people don't like Charlotte Flair, and that's fine. She's not allowed to be happy because she's white blonde and has an unpopular dad. You all are very strange. She did the intro for Vengeance Day. I mean, she's a key part of the history of NXT, so why not? She did a really good job. I thought it was a really cool, really different way to start the show. This was not... As I said, a lot of great wrestling, not going to set the world on fire. Great way to introduce NXT back to being on a touring schedule and going back to proper arenas. The arena was pretty much sold out from what I've heard. The arena... Somebody said this to me and they said, oh, you're going to love it. And I'm like, well, you can't really compare a weekly show to a pay-per-view, a premium live event, whatever. But they were saying the NXT Vengeance Day... the venue where it was being held, sorry, I'm losing my words here, it outsold this week's Dynamite by 2-0. It makes me smile a little bit, but again, you're talking about a weekly show versus an NXT pay-per-view, and the first one in a long-ass time to not take place in the Performance Center, so there's a little bit of a historical element to that as well. So I'm not taking that as a huge win, but it does make me smile just a little bit, because it pisses off all the right people. Oh yes. Anyways, I've rambled for quite long enough. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye guys.